So after the government announced they were going to bomb Yemen, it didn't take long for Starmer to come out and support the decision without a vote. Another example of Labour unequivocally backing the Tories because they are just two sides of the same coin. Now, 2 days ago, Starmer was interviewed on Sky News, and his answer when talking about Yemen is mind-bendingly, if that's a word, idiotic. No, moronic. I can't think of a strong enough word that describes how stupid this is. Take a look.
The action that the government took in conjunction with the US is action that we support. What we now need to hear from the Prime Minister is the scope, the basis, the full reasoning behind the decision that he took. And of course, the question of whether more action may be needed and what processes will be put in place. So that statement should be this afternoon. I'd be expecting the Prime Minister to answer those questions.
So what you saw there was supposedly a former lawyer, leader of the opposition, admitting that they backed the government's decision to bomb Yemen without fully understanding why. And now he's asking Rishi Sunak, and I quote, the full reasoning why they bombed Yemen. Oh my God. So Starmer, I don't think you understand the passage of time. It's linear and it only goes forward. So usually, and I might be out of whack here, you ask for the information and then you make a decision based on that information. You can't support the bombing uncritically because you didn't even call for a vote. And then once you do it, be like, oh, okay, now why did we do that? This man is trying to be our prime minister. The faction he belongs to is the Labour right, corporatist, pro-establishment, are supposed to be the adults in the room. Those core ministers and their student childish politics. Thankfully, we've returned to grown-up politics. I cannot fathom how anyone defends this man anymore. There is nothing logical about what he said. And because he says it so casually, so matter of fact, the mainstream media and all those pundits who are so thick, they don't question it. And it's precisely this failure of our media that someone like Keir Starmer is held in this statesman-like regard, sensible politician, because, I don't know, he has a nice haircut, a smart suit, and often talks in meaningless platitudes. Really low bar for what quality politicians are supposed to be. And Corbyn, with his thoughtfulness and integrity, well, I'm afraid doesn't cut it because, he has wonky glasses. Now, I might add, during PMQs a few days ago, Starmer then asked for the decision to continue bombing to be brought to the House. Again, clearly doesn't understand scrutiny is supposed to come first in an instance like this. So why does Starmer have this ridiculous position? Well, basically, because he's a wet wipe. And he's scared of Labour being attacked by both the Tories and the media. If he were to call for a parliamentary debate, if he were to call for a vote before any bombing began, Sunak would probably say, oh, well, you're clearly not on our side. You support the terrorists. Make him look bad on national security, whatever. The media, some of it will probably, join in on it. Plus, Starmer desperately doesn't want to be seen at odds with the British establishment, especially when it comes to foreign policy. Now, after we bomb Yemen, now he's calling for scrutiny. Now he's showing that he cares about the proper processes to show that he is, in fact, a true statesman, a technocrat. He isn't, and he's shown he isn't by initially backing the government in the first place. You can't have your cake and eat it. Now, I've got this little voice in my ear of Starmer supporters saying, well, that's just smart politics. He can't be attacked for supporting terrorists because he backs military action. And now he can't be attacked for disrespecting the political process because he upholds standards and scrutiny. Well, he could be attacked for his gross hypocrisy, which doesn't bode well for his tendency to flip-flop. I mean, most people don't know what Labour stands for. Plus, being a complete coward when it comes to political opponents, when it comes to the media, isn't smart, it just makes you a coward. And even so, that doesn't stop the attacks. This is what the official Conservative Party Twitter account posted today. When Rishi Sunak sees a group chanting jihad on our streets, he bans them. Keir Starmer invoices them. And then we see a nice little graphic saying, better call Keir. Yes, Keith, the masterful politician who doesn't fall into any traps and avoids big political attacks, is still being called a terrorist supporter. Forensic. But this will be how he governs. Media scrutiny will be even higher. The pressure from the establishment will be even stronger. You think as Prime Minister he's going to stray away from that? Of course not. And to look at the bigger picture, rather than just getting bogged down in Westminster, he is supporting the potential destabilisation of the region, a potential escalation, and he's got his name written all over it. He's then asked a second question on why he broke his leadership positions. Must be all of them now. That military actions always need scrutiny. That's what he said when he campaigned to become leader. Obviously, he's dropped that. So let's get back to the video.
When you were running for Labour leader, you promised legislation that would make sure there was Commons votes before foreign intervention. Why doesn't these airstrikes fall into that category? And at what point would you want there to be a vote amongst MPs?
I think the vast majority of people across the country recognise that when urgent operational issues arise, as they did in this case, then it's not possible to have a vote in Parliament beforehand, particularly if it's a joint operation. I think it's fundamentally different if there's a sustained campaign with the deployment of troops. And in those circumstances, I do think it's important that the Prime Minister of the day comes to Parliament with a viable case, setting out the legal basis for the action and getting the consent of Parliament to that intervention. But there's a distinction between urgent operational issues, one-off operations, the like of which we've seen in the last few days, and that sustained campaign, which would require more process in Parliament.
Now, in the video, he didn't call for a vote beforehand because this type of military action was different. Different how? How is this different to all the other votes we held on military action, on bombing other countries? And how is it different now when you're calling for parliamentary scrutiny, but not before when you back the government? Like, what changed? Oh, because he says the length of the bombing campaign is the delineation, is the difference. How stupid does he think we are? I mean, it's the exact same policy. Bombing is bombing, whether it's once, whether it's multiple times. You don't get a free pass from negative consequences on your first go. Let's bomb this place. But don't worry, it's just the first. It doesn't count. If it goes wrong, we'll call it a mulligan. He is a deeply, deeply unserious politician. He's playing these political games, not because he desperately wants to radically change Britain, and that is that's the way to do it. He's playing the game because he desperately wants power. Wait and see. There's going to be an election this year. Labour are going to win. Let's see how this establishment hack runs the country. A clue, it won't be good.